Hello everyone, I'm Marieanne, the Artsie Crafter. Welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is doing well wherever you are, and I hope the weather is lovely for you today. It's very cold here and I'm trying to keep my hands warm. I don't have the air conditioner on or the heater on because they're a bit too noisy, and I don't want that noise to be annoying you, because it annoys me sometimes when it's that humming in the background. So anyway, we'll persevere with the cold. And I'm going to be working, I finished this journal, as I mentioned in another video. If you hadn't seen that video, it doesn't matter. I'm telling you again. And it's all ready to go, and I've got all the pages together and made some pockets, as you would have seen in another tutorial that I did, and I've got bits and pieces in here all ready to go. So all I need now, I want to actually put a closure on here, and I took my inspiration from the tags that I made in the last video. If you hadn't seen that video, I'll leave a link below. You can go check that video out, and these are the tags that I made. They've got suitcases on them, and the suitcases have these straps with the buckles. So that kind of got me thinking, to do the closure on this journal, I'd like to do a strap or a belt of some kind. And so I went out and I bought this dog collar. I actually bought two. This one was a little bit smaller. I'll show you the one that I actually cut up. It's this one here, and I cut the buckle off. Where did I put it? Cut the buckle off here. It's a bit floppy. I suppose they all are when you deconstruct them. And the little tab here, which was on this piece. This is the one that's all still together. And because I've got two journals, I was going to make two straps, and it wasn't until I was cutting this apart that I realized that they're the same dog collar, but they're different sizes. So no matter, I'll go back and get this other size, or I'll just make another one a bit smaller. So that's okay for now. For now, we're just going to be making one. And so to make my collar, I could have used this. It was about the right size for this journal. Just move that apart, and like that, and it gave you some room to move, to add things in. But I found it was far too stiff, this leather, or this pretend leather. So I thought I wanted to make it out of something that was a bit more pliable than this collar. So I will put this aside for now, and I'll show you what I came up with. I bought some of this vinyl fabric, and it's very pliable. It's nice and thick, but very pliable. So I cut this up into a length of here, and I did it the same width as this here, plus I added, there's about half a centimeter, I think, on the thickness of this belt. So I added that to this, and then I drew a line down the middle, and I made this one. I'll just back you up because you can't get it all in shot. There we go. Made this one a bit longer, just to give me a bit more room. So that's what I did there. So this belt, this fabric is about 5 inches or 2 centimeters, and I think I did it either 24 inches, I think, or 60 centimeters. Yes, just over 24 inches or 60 centimeters long. And then because I wanted this to have some firmness about it, I went and cut some strips of some thin cardboard, and because it wasn't long enough, I used some tape to tape it together, as you can see there. And then I ruled a line down the middle of it, so I can glue this onto here in the center, and these will wrap over, and I'll glue them down like that, and that will make my strap. But at the end here, I didn't want these to be, as you can see on the strap, it's very thick here, and when you loop this through, it's very stiff and firm, and I didn't have these metal pieces to attach this end, so that you attach the buckle and also this little loop here. So I wanted to keep this without having that thickness to it. So this will be, I can fold this over, and anyway, when we get to that stage, I'll show you what I'm going to do there. And this is the pointy bit of the strap, the end bit, and I was playing around this morning of how on earth I'm going to be constructing that, and I come up with a couple of ideas. Here's my prototypes that I was playing around with. But the thing is, I had one where I cut the ends off and I folded them over, but then this part is straight across, so you see all that bits and pieces down that end, and it looks very unattractive. And then I did have another one here that I did, and of course it's gone missing. Where's the other one I had? I don't know. He was here a second ago. But, anyway, I can just explain to you what it was. Thing was, the other way I did it was I folded this over and then I cut around, but then you could see the cardboard at the ends there, the raw cardboard, and I didn't want that. So I come up with the idea of cutting this out first and then gluing. I cut this bit out first, which I can show you now that it's ready to go. So just cut this little curve out, and like that, and then I'm going to put it, when I glue it down, I'll glue it and leave a gap, leave a bit at the end here of the fabric. I won't go all the way up, and then when I glue this over here, I can feel where that where the cardboard is, and then I can just draw a line and I'll cut it out, and then that way when you glue it together you don't see any cardboard at the end. So that was my solution for doing it that way. So it's quite neat. So that's the way I'm going to do it. And so we'll get on and do it that way to start with. And I've never made one of these before, so I'm working it out as I go along. So I thought, yeah, you might be interested if this is something you'd like to do for your journal covers, making a belt. I'm hoping it's going to be fairly simple. It's just a matter of trying to work out the process and the steps involved. So I'm going to be using some fabric glue to glue this down. So I'll do that now. Hopefully I haven't missed a step. And I haven't got that this one curved perfectly even. So I'll just even that up a little bit. Looks a bit crooked to me. I think that's a bit better. Actually, it's on a different, put it on here to make sure that I've got this here, but it's not matching up on this side, so I need to cut that out a bit more. Thought it looked a bit lopsided. I'll do that now. I think that looks a lot better. Make sure it's straight. Yes, that looks a bit better. Okay, so I can glue this down, make sure I get it down the right end again. So I don't know whether I've told you where we're going or not, because I've done a few videos in this series of how to make a travel journal, and I have talked about it, but I think I've edited those bits out because I usually explain things while I'm gluing, and I usually fast forward through the gluing process, so I'll probably cut out all that information. But never mind, I will go through the itinerary of our trip. It's a 7-week trip, but 6 weeks of it will be overseas, traveling overseas, and 4 weeks of that will be during a cruise, a Northern Europe cruise. So I will go through that briefly in the next video, where I will be showing you, when I did the first video in this series, I explained that I actually make 2 journals, and the second journal is for my trip. One is the journal that I use to write in, my daily day-to-day activities or memories of the trip, whatever it is, what we do every day. And then I do a second journal which goes in my bag that I carry around with me all the time, because it's what I call the itinerary journal, and it has a complete itinerary of everything that we'll be doing on the trip, or everything that involves the trip, all the information, what the dates, what we'll be doing that day, whether we traveling that day. I have gone through this before, so I don't want to go through it now. I will go through this in the next video and go through that process with you, how I make this journal. So, and I will go through our itinerary for that journal. So that's something if you're interested in. And I don't do it just for overseas trips. I do it for our trips they have around our home, around home. What do you call it? Domestic travel, I should say. So now I can glue this down. The other thing that is helpful is to get it to the tacky stage, where it's still workable, but it means that when you stick it down, it will stick down straight away. There's no time. You don't have to wait for it to cure in the initial stage. Of course, it will take some time to cure overall, but it usually sticks down first go when you leave it to that tacky stage. How long do you have to wait for that tacky stage? I don't know. It just depends on the weather and the type of glue that you're using, because not all glues are the same. They all have different drying times. So it's just a matter of trying it out. And if all else fails, then some clamps are good to use. And so, because I don't have enough fingers to hold it all down all the way along, and I'm going to make sure I try and get up to that center line. I don't know why it's not doing that all the way along, but anyway. So, and I might start in the middle here and fold it over. So I just use some clamps and clamp it down in those spots where it's being a bit stubborn. Okay, I'll leave this aside for a couple of minutes, and then until this glue dries completely. It'll probably only take a couple of minutes, but anyway, I don't want to have you sitting there waiting, so I will fast forward and then I'll come back when it's completely dry, and then we'll continue making this belt. Okay, it's dry now, so we can get on with the next job, and I'm going to be cutting out this end here, and I need to know where that circle is, and the best way I know how to mark it, hopefully, will be this white pencil. It's not a very bright mark, but it will give me an idea of where to cut it. So it's around about there. Okay, let's see how good I am at cutting a neat line. Okay, I don't know if you can see the end there. It's nice and flat and you can't see any of the cardboard, so I'm happy with that. And then the next part here, oh, that's not what I was going to do, I nearly forgot. I'm going to go and attempt to sew. As you see on these collars, the edges are sewn. That's a good idea. We can get an idea of that, whether you can see it or not, where they're sewn like that. And I don't know how happy my needle's going to be, because I did sew something recently and it didn't like going through the thickness, but and I don't have time to do any hand sewing and I'm not that neat, so I'm going to go and attempt to sew around the outside and see how that goes. It will also help it to keep it together. I'd like to sew a line along the center there, but it would look ugly on this side. As I said, I'm not the neatest at sewing on thick material, so I'll go and do that now and then I'll come back and show you. Okay, don't know where that came from. My sewing machine was very kind to me and it sewed through without too much problem, except one end here. Don't know, this one must have had a little bit of glue on this side, so but it didn't destroy. It went through pretty well, and I did have the foresight to actually do it on my sample piece first to see if it worked out, and it did. So I'm very happy about that. It must like the vinyl better than it liked the leather, because I was using real leather the other day to sew up a belt on my a tab on my skirt, my tartan skirt. So anyway, that's that step. So that's pretty much a belt, and you don't have to put a buckle on it, and you don't have to make it out of vinyl. You can make it out of fabric and do exactly the same thing, and then you could always tie it up with something else to keep it closed. But I wanted to try and do it properly, do it the way that these ones are done, just to see if I could do it. And the trickiest part, of course, is getting the hole to have this little they call that the tongue, I think, on the buckle, tongue of the buckle. I think that's what they call it. I could be wrong. I usually am. And so I need to have this wrapping. I'll move this aside. So I need to have this, make sure it's got a little lip on it here. If you can see that little bend. So that sits on top of this bit here. This here, and the belt rolls through there. It's a bit different to human belts, I think. I don't know. There's all kinds of belts out there, I suppose. And I'll just move this to one side and then work out. I need to have that going that way. And then before I do that, I need to put this little tab on first and then put this on. And that's going to wrap around there. And then I need to have enough room to have this, close this up so this stays in place, and then I have this one in between and I close the end up on this side to keep this little tab in place like it is on the belt here. And I'm not bothering about this thing here because that's I don't think it needs it. We've got this here, that's this is for attaching a lead anyway, and I'm not going to be doing that. It's not a dog lead. So I need to work out, and I want to do it on my sewing machine, so I'm going to have to leave enough room here for my foot to get through. And that, and when I mean foot, I mean the foot on my sewing machine, not my foot. I need a lot more space for that. Anyway, it's getting to be so if I went and sewed that up, the end one first, I still need to get this in here. I wonder if I could get this in the hole or not. Make the hole for this little tongue. Maybe I should do it now, and I need to have something that I can see. And I don't know whether the white one would be enough. Just to mark the spot. Hopefully that will stay there. and I'm going to use the crocodile on the big hole to cut that, punch that hole out. And why isn't it going through? Oh, there we go. Hopefully I've got that in the center. Otherwise, I'm hoping that's the center. And I didn't do a very good job of that. Okay, didn't punch all the way through, so just need to cut that little bit off. And there's no cardboard in this section because, as I said, I wanted to keep this fairly pliable so that it bends around the journal cover. And so I need to get this the right way around. Okay, so that's fine. So I can put that in there. Okay. Okay, so I can squeeze that around that lip there like that, and I want this to stay fairly firm. So this one here, they've actually cut a large, you can see they cut a large notch out for where the metal, where that tongue wraps around this part, but I don't really want to have that showing. I don't want it prominent, so I will leave it. It stretched the hole anyway, as you can see, without having to cut it out. Otherwise, I risk making the hole too big if I try and cut it out as a slit. So that will work fine, and the firmness will hopefully keep the strap in place. So I could go and move that down and I sew along here first. That would be the best way because then I can get into it, and then I'll sew this close at the other end. So now I'll just go and sew this, and I'll sew these two bits on, and I'll come back and show you how it looks. Okay, I'm very pleased and quite surprised that it did turn out, and there it is. And that's the other side. It's quite neat for my first attempt at making a belt. So the other thing that has to be done, which I almost forgot, and it does fit through there, is to punch the holes in. It won't work without that. So to do that, I'm going to put it round here, and which way will I have it? I don't know. This way perhaps. And just see, because this journal will probably end up being, a gator mouth, I want to see where I could start one hole, and then as I work I can punch in other holes. If I leave it so it sits flat, then the first hole would be around about here, and I put my pencil away, didn't I? Okay. So there's one hole there, and there we go. I've got some marks, so I put that there, and that will have it sitting flat. And then I might make another one about here, which is what, about an inch perhaps. So I've got one there and one there, and be good to know, wouldn't it? No, that's about 1/2 inch, or 1 1¼ centimeters. So if I do that, and then as I work I can punch more holes in there, and I'll leave it there, and I'm punching holes, aren't I? And I don't want them as big this time, so I'm going to use a small hole punch, and should take it off would be the easiest way. And see if I can get it in the center, which is roughly where the seam is. One. Might have it on the outside of that one there, but I'll put another one in just for good measure, closer to, just in case. Well, belts always have more than one hole, one or two holes, so it doesn't really matter how many holes I put in this, as long as they're evenly spaced. It should work out. Cut that bit off. There we go. Okay, let's see how this works. How this looks. Can't believe it. It looks and feels like a real belt. I'm amazed. I wonder if my husband would like me to make him a belt. He probably would wear it. So there we go. What do you think? If you like this idea, please leave a comment in the box below. And I think I wanted to show you this because, as I said, I've never used this before. I've never made one of these before, and it's always good to push the limits of what we think we can make or what we think we can do. So it's just a matter of giving it a go, really. And you never know. I mean, as I said, it worked out a lot better, 100% better than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a disaster because I've never made one before. And when you think about it, it's not really that difficult. All you're doing is attaching a buckle and a little tab here and putting a corner, little tip on the end and punch a few holes in, and you're done, really. You don't have to do the sewing around the edges. Glue will be fine enough, good enough to keep it together, and you don't have to use vinyl. You can use fabric. So that's all I have for you today, and I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it gives you some inspiration to try some other things and think outside the box about you don't have to have a ribbon or a string to make a tie for your journals. There are other ways, other things you can try, you can do. And I'm going to stop waffling on and get on with getting the other journal, this one here that I showed you before, my itinerary. I have to get that done because I've only got a few days to go and it needs to be finished. So, and I'll talk about the our trip in that tutorial or that video, which will be the next one. So for now, I want to wish everyone a happy crafty day, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye everyone.